Well, what crime has the roofing company committed, if any? Potentially employer misconduct. They gave us the wrong code. We'll look at it a couple different ways. Like I said, education. There's people that don't know, that don't understand it. 457501, and that's Montana Code annotated, defines employer misconduct. Misconduct if the person knowingly or purposefully. The big thing is they're misrepresenting something and they know they are. And that's what we have to, what could it do to the homeowner if one of those cleanup people fell off? If you're the homeowner, you're hiring somebody to roof, or business owner, you hire somebody to roof your business or your home, and they're not being paid the right amount. We all know what happens if they don't pay any premium. You know, if it's all under the table and there's no coverage. They could come back on us as the homeowner or the business owner, right? They could do the same thing here. Now, because the way state fund is set up, we're going to step up and help everybody out, especially the worker. That's what we're there for. However, they could put you through a little scare there, and it would be. They may come after you because they don't have the right coverage. And as a homeowner, you're supposed to know a lot of that. Person convicted of the offense of employer misconduct shall, not may, shall be fined an amount not to exceed $50,000 or imprisoned not to exceed 10 years. That's pretty good. That's a pretty healthy fine. You know, imprisonment for 10 years, does that happen? Probably not. The prison time, probably not. But I'm telling you that $50,000 does, and that wakes a lot of people up. It does. Other types of employer misconduct fraud, no workers' comp coverage. Well, read about that happening, and it happens often. Underreporting payroll, that's the wages that we talked about earlier. You pay people under the table for part of their wages, and you just say that they're working part-time. You know, it's funny how people talk, but we hear about them. And when we start working cases, Shane goes out and starts interviewing people. Truth comes out. Not paying a premium. That happens oftentimes. Business owner might say, everybody that works for me is an independent contractor. Well, I don't completely understand independent contractors. As an independent contractor, you can't be working just for me, wearing my shirt, driving my vehicle, using my tools, representing me, and say that, you know, you're an independent contractor. Misclassifying employees, a lot of that could be education, unless we have some intent. All these are felonies. There's no minimum dollar amount required. Most prosecutions for fraud fall under theft or employer misconduct. There are other things that we can push, deceptive business practices. Of course, you can always have the, signing somebody else's name, that type of thing. But those two are pretty much all that we work with. Another scenario that you might see, Monday morning, Sam Blackbelt reports that he was injured at his job when a stack of cement blocks tipped over and injured his hand. Things that you might see at your job site. As his employer, what action should you take? Okay, first investigation, file a first report of injury, which is pretty standard things that you have to do. Photograph the injury in the stack of blocks. Now, everybody's got a cell phone. If you don't have a camera, snap a picture of some things. Get a picture of that hand. Get a picture of the concrete blocks. We'll talk a little more in depth on that, but that picture is gonna help. It's gonna help you, it's gonna help the worker. Send him to a doctor, take care of him. You know, don't just say, oh, wash it off, that's just a little bit of blood. That does happen in cases, and you know, we've all, even paper cuts can show a lot of blood, but take care of your people. All right, on Tuesday, you receive an anonymous tip that Sam might be an MMA fighter. You do some research and find a photo of Sam in a fight from the previous weekend. That could be Sam on the bottom, but those knuckles looked like he might have been on top. Is your initial investigation important? It is pretty important. Coincidence. We've had, in the last 6 months, 3 MMA fighters that have been hurt. And sitting in our class yesterday was one of the business owners that had turned one of them in. Very similar to this. They're all very similar to this. And not to put any names out there, and not to say that it couldn't happen. Difficult to prove. We can prove they were fighting, but very difficult to prove that they didn't get hurt. That's why your initial investigation is so important. Did you examine the scene of the accident? Now, I'm not asking you to go out and do my job or Shane's job, but we're one person for the whole state, Shane. You know, I'll go out on occasion, but not very often. Did you interview any potential witnesses? You know, we're looking at a time frame before we could get there to take a picture of the scene. Those cinder blocks are probably either going to be put in place or sold. You know, if you're a lumberyard, they're probably going to be sold. You're hoping they're sold. And if you're actually the mason putting them on, you hope they're put up on the wall by the time we can get there. So there's not much we can look at. Witnesses, the people that were working with them. You know, with time, what happens? We kind of forget, right? We forget what happened. So it's really good to talk to somebody, to all those witnesses. Doesn't necessarily mean there is any, but the first people they talked to when he came out with the hand. Did you do a thorough interview of the injured employee? We get them oftentimes, they filled out the first report of injury and that's it. And they haven't even marked, you know, that there's suspicion of anything wrong. And there could be a lot of reasons they don't, but it's really important to talk to them, to ask them really what did happen. You're not necessarily doubting them, you're just wanting the full story. And then did you consider the mechanism of injury and whether the story was plausible? Could it have happened? Do you even have cinder blocks? Do you have something that can do that damage to their hand? Is your standard procedure no more than 2 blocks high? Was he working in an area where there were blocks? You know, all those things are something to look at to make sure the story is correct and for their benefit and for yours. Why do we want to do this investigation? You know, we're right there on top. We're asking for help. We're not asking you to do our job, but we're helping. We need a little bit of help to combat fraud. Also, you're clearing a cloud of suspicion over the employee. How many times do you guys know somebody was hurt? Could have even been you, and everybody said, oh, they're faking it. When in fact, they really are hurt. And you don't want that to go around your business, that somebody's faking an injury. It hurts them and makes them a poor employee. You don't want that, and talk isn't really good around the office. Accountability for your company, just to know that you're doing everything possible for the employee, for yourself, so you want to be accountable. By doing all of this investigation, you might prevent false claims in the future. They know that you're going to take them serious, and you're going to do the best you can. They're going to say, it might be a little tough to get one by. And ultimately, I see everybody's head going up and down. That's one that hits home, saves you money on premium. What's it, the mod factors? When you have claims, your factors go up, and of course, more premium. Well, the more you do to help out, your premiums, you might save some money.